Today, we're diving into something that is, quite frankly, a game changer for anyone in the payment services industry. It's a brand new piece of regulation, and based on Terry's latest analysis, we're going to break down exactly what the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act, or CIRCIA, means for you right now.
So let's just get straight to it with one simple question. Does your business process payments? In any way, shape, or form? If that answer is yes, then you are absolutely going to want to stick around for this.
Because here's the new reality. Financial services are now officially classified as critical infrastructure. It doesn't matter if you're a payment processor, an acquirer, an issuer, or a digital wallet. You are now what's called a covered entity. The message couldn't be clearer. If you move money, you have been caught squarely in the CIRCIA net.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with this new reality for payments, then get into what CIRCIA actually mandates. We'll look at the two really critical reporting clocks. Then we'll cover what you need to put in your reporting dossier. And finally, we'll talk about how to look beyond compliance and towards building real structural resilience.
Right, let's kick things off with the most important point of all. The grace period is over. This isn't some regulation that's coming down the line anymore. It's here. The time for just thinking about it is done, and the era of active compliance has officially begun.
And this timeline really says it all, doesn't it? The proposed rule came out in 2024. The final rule was due by late 2025, and that brings us to today. We are right here. Compliance is live, the grace period has officially ended, and these mandates are no longer optional. They have to be executed.
So what exactly is this new law of the land? Let's take a closer look at CIRCIA's mandate and figure out who's in charge.
So CIRCIA, as we said, stands for the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act. The key word there is mandating. This isn't a friendly request. It's a U.S. federal law that requires the reporting of significant cyber incidents from all of those covered entities we just talked about.
And where do all these reports go? Well, they all head to one single place, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. CISA is the one and only federal intake point. Now, this does simplify the reporting process, but it also means CISA is centralizing an incredible amount of intelligence on the threats facing our critical infrastructure.
Now we get to what is, for my money, the most demanding part of this whole regulation, the deadlines. And there isn't just one, there are two very, very strict reporting clocks that you absolutely have to live by.
The regulation lays out two completely separate timelines. You've got 72 hours, that's just 3 days, to report what they call a substantial cyber incident. But then you've got a much, much tighter 24-hour window to report any ransom payment you make. Two different clocks, both ticking away incredibly fast.
So what actually starts that 72-hour clock? Well, a substantial cyber incident is defined pretty broadly. It could be anything that hits the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of your systems. It could be an event that disrupts your core payment operations, or even just degrades the service. And here's the really big one. It also covers incidents that come through a third-party compromise. That's massive for anyone thinking about supply chain risk.
Knowing the deadlines is one thing, right? But knowing exactly what to put in that report, that's a whole other ballgame. So let's look at the specific information you'll be required to pull together, often while you're under some pretty intense pressure.
It's useful to think of this as your intake pack. The second that 72-hour clock starts ticking, your incident response team needs to be building this dossier. And this isn't just a simple heads up. It's a detailed, preliminary report.
And the level of detail they want is pretty significant. You need to explain what happened and what the operational impact was, which systems and data were hit, and a timeline of the compromise. You also have to detail any vulnerabilities that were exploited and share any known attacker TTPs, that's their tactics, techniques, and procedures, as well as any IOCs or indicators of compromise. And why? Because that intel is vital for CISA to warn other potential targets. Finally, you have to list your mitigation actions and any third-party involvement. That is a huge amount of information to gather in just 3 days.
Okay, now for the even more intense situation, the 24-hour ransom pack. If you find yourself in the tough position of having to pay a ransom, that clock starts, and you have just 1 day to report it, and they expect absolute precision.
The requirements here are almost forensic. They want the date and the exact amount of the payment, the method you used, including all the details if you used cryptocurrency, the specific instructions you got from the attacker, the ransomware variant if you've been able to identify it, and crucially, a description of the operational impact that forced you to make that payment in the first place. There is absolutely no room for error here.
You know, it's really easy to look at all of this and just see a massive, burdensome compliance headache, but Terry's analysis suggests we should be looking at this from a different angle. This isn't just about ticking boxes and filing reports. It's about fundamentally making your organization stronger. And here's the key idea. CIRCIA is basically a forcing function. It forces a resilience uplift right across your people, your processes, and your technology. The demand for faster reporting and greater transparency, well, it naturally builds stronger operational resilience. It's a mechanism for genuine structural improvement.
So how do you actually get there? Here are 6 practical steps you can take right now. 1. Map your specific applicability to CIRCIA. 2. Embed those 72-hour and 24-hour triggers directly into your incident response playbooks. 3. Build the reporting template now, before you're in the middle of a crisis. 4. Seriously strengthen your vendor oversight. Don't forget that third-party rule. 5. Integrate your threat intel, forensics, and compliance teams so they operate as a single unit. And finally, number 6, operationalize your governance and make sure you have clear pathways to get this information to the board.
And that really brings us to the final critical takeaway. The waiting is over. This is not a drill. CIRCIA is active, and for every single payment service provider out there, the starting gun has been fired. The time to execute is now. Podcasts are released every Tuesday on Spotify and YouTube. Do like, subscribe, and repost. It really helps us build the channel and focus on what's important to you. And a quick heads up, on Tuesday the 9th of June, the Resilience Association is holding its 6th annual summit. This year's theme is Critical Third Parties, Strengthening the Backbone of Resilience. Terry's going to be there. And if you want to go, DM him directly for a discount code.